Okay guys, this is a video I've been wanting to make for a while and a project that I've had in my mind for a couple of months. I'm going to really sort out my dust collection once and for all. We made the dust bucket, we made the little attachment for the cyclone. I really want to put those all together, make something a little bit cleaner. So I went off to the local hardware store. I'm going to be using a full sheet of plywood for this project. The reason why I'm not using structural timber, which will be a little bit cheaper, is I really want to have some side panels on this. I really want to put a pegboard, hang some tools off it. I don't really want it to be open, a little bit sealed up. So while I was at the hardware store, I thought it'd be a good idea get these boards cut up so they fit in the car and so they're right, fairly right dimensions. They never really get it right. Then I could cut it up with the old drop saw. Precision. I thought it'd be a really smart idea to try and drill all these at the same time. Then I realised I'm a bit of an idiot trying to save this kind of time, so I've got holes all on one side now simply because those holes don't really correspond to the opposite side. So I'm going to put all these in with some simple black screws, just get this box made because essentially that's all it is, and a little bit of supporting brackets in there. Help hold it straight a little bit. I knew that square top panel that I'm using is definitely straight and square, so as long as I can force the cabinet into that shape, I know everything is going to be a fairly decently square box. Just shoving a panel in there now. This is where the vacuum is going to be sitting. I've actually got a lot of offcuts from this timber, so it worked out pretty well because I'm going to use that for future projects, so it's always good to have plywood around the shop. This will be essentially how it's all going to sit, nice and tucked in so I can wheel it away into a corner somewhere. And the one thing I really hate about sanding any project is when it's a shop project. It doesn't really get touched, it's not a piece of furniture, but it's always rewarding to have it done. So I'm using 50mm flexible hose for this. So I kind of have to really base everything around that. So every connection I have is certainly really different. So I went back to the hardware store, tried all these different fittings just to see what would work. I came up with something, it's a little bit ridiculous, but it seems to work for me. The one piece that wasn't a perfect fit was this little screw top coupler, you know, from 40mm to I think 20mm. I had to sand off the threads on the inside just so I could fit the male piece, so that's what I'm doing here. So I have a lot of this 50mm hose, I've got quite a few meters of it, so what I'm going to be doing is epoxying the connectors onto this cyclone itself. I know I'm only going to be using that hose, so I'm not too worried about having this one size. And I'm going to be using the wheels that came with the shop vac. This shop vac I can't recommend. Kasha, they used to be really good. I'm not a fan of them anymore. They're really cheaply built. You don't get a steel broom. I can't recommend them. At the end of the day, it's a shop vac. All of them are really similar. Just go to a hardware store, buy the cheapest one there. As long as the power output is the same, you're really not going to have any issues with them. So we can do a final test fit now, make sure everything sort of works great. Put an angled piece of timber up on the side, that's where I'm going to put the hose. Just for now anyway, I'm probably going to get a spool for it, but trying to make sure this thing works first. Okay, it's time to turn it on, make sure it actually works. This isn't really good for cleaning up dust on the ground. This is not what it's designed for. Just use a regular vacuum if that's what you want to do. What I do want to do is connect all my tools to it. So I really love this Makita drop saw. One problem I've got, the dust hose, the dust port, is terrible. It's not a uniform size. So I had to use a smaller coupler, put plumbing tape over it, use another piece, add another piece, add another piece. I've got like 5 pieces just to fit 50mm hose. It's absolutely ridiculous. So what I've done is I've looked online. I found a lot of local guys that do 3D printing. I'm not going to go out and buy one just for a few parts, but I want to get all these pieces 3D printed. And you can see here that even with these connectors attached, it's not collecting any of the dust. The port is just way too small. I'm going from 50mm to, I think, 15mm. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's not going to work. I'm better off just using the bag for this. And to show you what I really mean, I've got a slow-mo here that I did, and you can just see dust flying everywhere. It really working backwards to what I'm trying to achieve. Right here is a comparison shot. Exactly what I was talking about. 50mm to, I think it's under 20mm. It might even be 20. So it just, I'm throttling the airflow way too much, and I'm just not going to collect any of that dust. So that's the dust tower. Obviously, I'm not going to go out and buy a 3D printer just to print some parts, because that's going to be absolutely ridiculous and cost way too much money. But if you're going to build something like this and you need very specific parts, there are a lot of hobbyists out there that actually go and buy these 3D printers, and they want to start a small business. So I've actually found someone locally. They're doing it incredibly cheap compared to actually buying one. So I'm going to go that route, and I think it'll work out quite well. I can have every single tool, custom made fittings for this little dust collector system that I got going on. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. You'll notice probably that I did full plywood panels, and that's simply because I want to have attachments hanging off this. I want to have a pegboard. I want to have a magnet board. I didn't want to build a 2x4 frame where I couldn't have any additions to it. So if I'm going to build something, I might as well make use of all the space that I've got. And that's why I did it out of plywood. Thanks for watching guys, I'll see you next time. Cheers.